I work at a cafe in Copenhagen, and last month an American couple walked in during our lunch rush. They stood at the entrance for a solid 3 minutes, looking around with increasing confusion. Finally, the husband approached the counter and asked, "Where's the host?" "We've been waiting to be seated." I told him this was a cafe, you just sit wherever you want. He looked genuinely upset. "But how do you know who was here first? What if someone takes our table?" I explained that people just find empty seat. He wasn't having it. "That's chaos. In America, we have a system. Someone writes your name down and tells you when your table is ready. Otherwise, it's just whoever pushes their way in first." His wife nodded along. "It's about fairness. Everyone should wait their turn." I pointed to the 15 empty tables around us. They still waited by the entrance for someone to seat them. After 2 minutes, they sat down, but the husband kept glancing at the door like he expected a manager to scold them. When I brought their coffee, he asked if they'd broken any rules by choosing their own table. Last summer, an American woman at the swimming pool in Munich spent 20 minutes arguing with the lifeguard because there was no adults-only section. She wanted somewhere without children. He explained the entire pool was for everyone. She suggested they add VIP lanes. He asked what that meant. She said, "You know, for people who pay extra to swim without distractions." He told her swimming pools don't work that way in Germany. She asked how much extra it would cost to reserve a lane. When he said you can't buy pool privileges, she left a 1-star review saying German pools were communist. And that was just Tuesday. I was working reception at a hostel in Stockholm when an American businessman checked in. He handed me his passport and credit card, then said, "I'll need someone to take my bags up." I told him we don't have porters, guests bring their own luggage. He stared at me like I'd spoken Swedish. "What do you mean? I'm paying for a room. Someone should carry my bags." I explained this was standard in Sweden. Everyone carries their own bags regardless of who they are. He pulled out his phone and showed me his booking confirmation. "See? I paid $200 a night. That includes service." I pointed out that service meant clean rooms and Wi-Fi, not personal assistance. He asked if he could pay extra for someone to carry his bags. I said no. He asked if I could do it if he tipped me $50. I declined. He stood there holding his 3 suitcases, genuinely baffled. In America, hotels have people for this. It's their job. How do elderly people manage? I told him elderly people also carry their own bags, or they pack lighter, or they ask other guests for help. He asked who he should complain to about the lack of bag service. I told him he could complain to me, but it wouldn't change anything because no hostel in Stockholm has porters. He asked if this was a Swedish law or just this hostel being cheap. When I said it was cultural, he muttered something about socialism and dragged his bags upstairs himself. 3 months ago, I was serving tables at a restaurant in Amsterdam. An American family came in and immediately asked for a different table because theirs was too close to the kitchen. I explained all our tables were the same price and the same quality. The father said, "Right, but we'd prefer something quieter. What are our options?" I told him he could sit at any empty table he wanted. He looked confused. "Don't you have like regular tables and premium tables?" I said no, every table costs the same. He pressed further. "Okay, but what if I want to pay more for a better location?" I explained that wasn't how Dutch restaurants worked. You sit where there's space, and every seat is equal. His wife jumped in. "In America, booths cost the same as regular tables, but everyone knows booths are better. You're saying if we sat at that table in the corner, it's the same as this one by the door?" I confirmed yes, exactly the same. The father leaned in like he was about to share classified information. "Between you and me, if I slip you €20, can you move us to that table by the window?" I told him the table by the window was available. He could just sit there without paying extra. They didn't believe me. They thought it was a trick. They sat at their original table convinced they were missing out on some secret upgrade system. I drive a taxi in Oslo, and last winter I picked up an American tourist from the airport. Normal ride, normal conversation. When we arrived at his hotel, the fare was 450 kroner. He handed me 500 and said, "Keep the change." I tried to give him his 50 kroner back. He refused. "It's your tip, man. You earned it." I explained that tipping taxi drivers isn't expected in Norway, we're paid fair wages. He insisted. "Come on, don't be modest. I know service workers depend on tips." I told him Norwegian taxi drivers don't depend on tips because we make proper salaries. He looked almost offended. "I'm trying to be generous here. Just take it." I explained that accepting unnecessary tips felt awkward because it implied I wasn't already paid enough. He got frustrated. "Why is everything so difficult here? In America, you tip. It's respectful. It shows appreciation." I said respect is paying the actual fare. He shoved the 50 kroner in my hand and got out of the car. Before closing the door, he said, "You're welcome," like he'd done me a massive favor. I donated it to charity. I was working at a pharmacy in Reykjavik when an American woman came in asking for antibiotic. I told her she needed a prescription. She said she didn't have time to see a doctor. She was only in Iceland for 3 days. I explained that didn't matter. You can't buy antibiotics without a prescription anywhere in Iceland. She pulled up her phone and showed me a photo of her antibiotic bottle from home. "See? I take these all the time. My doctor in Florida prescribes them. Just give me the same thing." I told her Icelandic pharmacies can't dispense prescription medicine without an Icelandic prescription. She asked if her American prescription counted. I said no. She asked why not. I explained different countries have different medical systems and regulations. She got defensive. America has the best healthcare in the world. If an American doctor says I need antibiotics, that should be valid everywhere. I gently noted that American prescriptions aren't legally recognized in Iceland. She asked to speak to the head pharmacist. I was the head pharmacist. She asked if there was a manager above me. I said the pharmacy owner, but he would tell her the same thing. She demanded his number. I gave it to her. She called him right there in the store, explained her situation, and he told her exactly what I'd said. She hung up and stared at me. This is discrimination against Americans. I suggested she visit an Icelandic doctor if she needed antibiotic. She said she shouldn't have to because her American doctor already diagnosed her. She left saying Iceland's medical system was backwards. The antibiotics she wanted were for acne. I work at a public library in Berlin, and an American student came in looking frustrated. He asked why he couldn't print documents without paying. I explained printing costs 20 cents per page to cover paper and ink. He said, "But I'm a student. Students get stuff for free." I told him students get free library access, free books, free Wi-Fi, free study spaces, but printing costs money for everyone. He insisted American libraries give students free printing. I said that was between students and American libraries, but German libraries charge for printing. He pulled out his university ID. This should cover it. I pay tuition. I explained his American tuition didn't include services at German public libraries. He asked how much free printing he'd get if he paid the library fee. I told him there was no library fee, the library was free to use, but printing always costs 20 cents per page whether you're a student, a professor, or a CEO. He looked genuinely confused. "So everyone pays the same?" I said yes. He asked, "What if you're printing something important, like a thesis?" Same price. "What if you print 100 pages?" 20 euro. "What if you're broke?" Still 20 cents per page, but you could use the computers for free and email documents to yourself. He stood there processing this. Finally he said, In America, status matters. Students get discounts. That's how you help people. I told him in Germany, we help people by making the library free for everyone and charging minimal printing fees to cover costs. He printed one page and left. I was working border control at the airport in Prague when an American man approached my desk. Standard procedure, I checked his passport, asked about his visit, stamped his entry. He waited at my desk after I handed his passport back. I asked if there was a problem. He said, "Don't you want to know what I do?" I said no, that wasn't necessary information. He explained he was a lawyer from New York. I congratulated him. He continued, "I'm just saying if you need to verify anything or if there are any issues, I'm a professional. I'm not just some random tourist." I assured him there were no issues. His entry was approved. He still didn't leave. In America, when you go through customs, they ask about your profession. It's relevant. I explained that Czech border control doesn't prioritize travelers by profession. A lawyer and a cashier get the same treatment if their documents are valid. He looked uncomfortable. Right, but you should know who you're dealing with. I'm here for an international conference. I told him that was interesting but didn't affect his entry process. He asked if being a lawyer meant anything in the Czech Republic. I said it meant he was a lawyer. He asked if that came with any privileges at the airport. I said no. He walked away looking like he'd been robbed of something important. 3 travelers later, a Czech janitor went through the same process. Same questions, same stamp, same amount of respect. I was teaching English in Tokyo last year, and an American student in my conversation class kept interrupting other students. After the 3rd time, I gently reminded him to let others finish speaking. He said, "I'm just contributing. Isn't that what we're supposed to do?" I explained that contributing means waiting your turn so everyone gets equal speaking time. He didn't understand. But what if I have something important to add? I told him other students also had important things to say. He pushed back. "Yeah, but I'm paying for this class. I should be able to speak when I have ideas." I noted that everyone in the room paid the same tuition and deserved equal opportunities to practice. He looked around the class, 8 Japanese students, 2 Korean students, 1 German student, and him. "Okay, but English is my first language. My input is obviously more valuable. I'm like the reference point." I explained that being a native speaker didn't entitle him to dominate the conversation. The class was designed so everyone could practice equally. He genuinely couldn't grasp this. In American classes, the best students talk the most. That's how learning works. The smart people lead the discussion and everyone learns from them. I told him that in this Japanese classroom, we valued collective learning, where everyone's voice mattered equally regardless of skill level. He asked if he could pay extra for more speaking time. I said no. He asked if there were advanced classes where native speakers got priority. I said no. He spent the rest of the semester visibly frustrated every time I called on other students. On the last day, he told me the class would have been better if I'd recognized talent. The student who improved most that semester was a quiet Japanese woman who barely spoke the first week. By the end, she was confidently leading group discussions. She never interrupted anyone. The thing about equality is that it feels like discrimination when you've been on top your whole life. When everyone gets the same respect, the same service, the same opportunities, it registers as unfair to people who expect advantages. And somewhere right now, another American is explaining to a confused Norwegian that they deserve a bigger hotel room because they're paying in dollars.